Joining us here on Montana Talks. She grew up, in fact, family goes back, I think, 4 generations or so in Ronan, Montana, so in northwest Montana. Now she's a student in college in Powell, Wyoming. So if she was home in Ronan, she'd be able to tune in on KJJR. But I think even in Powell, Wyoming, we get folks that tune in via KBUL, our Billings affiliate here on Montana Talks. Either way, Courtney Clairmont, thanks so much for joining us here on the show. Great to have you.
Thank you very much for having me on. I'd first like to say on behalf of the association, happy National FFA Week, and we are sure excited to celebrate this week.
You know, FFA, I wasn't, if I was to go back in time, I would have been one of those kids that I would have joined FFA, because I tell you, it's such a great leadership program. Everybody that I've talked to who's been in it, and you see these kids, it's just incredible. The advantages that kids going through FFA get, not just if they want to go back home and run the family farm or ranch, but really anywhere in careers. What do you think are the best things about FFA here as we celebrate National FFA Week?
Well, like you said, FFA, you get to see how kids can grow over time, and it's a career-based organization. So even in our CDEs, they're career development events. And so we're not focusing on just competing in mechanics, but we're trying to teach them the trade of mechanics in order for them to learn if this is what they'd like to do, if they could bring this back to the farm, or even if they are not from a production ag background. Some kids enjoy mechanics and they end up going to MSU for engineering, and I totally agree that you do not have to be a production ag student to be involved in FFA. And with FFA Week, we have got to see students post on Facebook about what they're doing for FFA Week, and they're not the students that are out in the field. They're students that live in town, and it's just a very diverse organization. It's very proud to celebrate it.
Yeah, so what all do you got coming up as part of National FFA Week here in Montana? I know there's one of those CDE days that you mentioned going on in Great Falls this week.
Yeah, CDE days is coming up next weekend. Just kidding. It's 2 weekends. It's the 3rd and the 4th of March, and we're super excited about that. That kind of kicks us off and gets us on the roll for state convention. So there's a lot of state CDEs that will be happening, such as horse evaluation, which will not be placed in Bozeman, Montana, instead it's at CDE days. And then talking about state convention, I'd like to give a little blurb on that. State convention is April 3rd through the 6th in Bozeman, Montana on the MSU campus. And if you want to come check it out, everyone's welcome, and there's sessions at night, and it's a super exciting event, and you get to walk in the sea of blue jackets.
That's right. Well, Scott Aspenleider is also here with us in studio. He's the vice president of the FFA Foundation. He's also got his own engineering company here in Montana, Performance Engineering. But, Scott, we were kind of joking about this during the break. You know, you're from Culbertson, Montana, small town, northeastern Montana, pretty much the opposite end of Highway 2 from our friends in Kalispell right now. You know, even when I was a kid in Glasgow, another, you know, not as small as Culbertson, but still a small town, you know, if you're a town kid, you're a town kid. It doesn't matter if you're in Kalispell or in Culbertson. If you grew up in town, you didn't grow up on a farm or ranch either, but yet you see the benefits of FFA.
Yeah, I was a city kid from the west side of Culbertson. You know, my friends, most of them came from production ag background, had farms and ranches. I've thrown my fair share of square bales, but my parents worked for people in the community. So I didn't grow up on a farm, but I got involved in the FFA, and looking back now, it's probably one of the best things that I did in my young life. And you can't really fully appreciate that when you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old until you get into your 20s and you're starting a career. You finally look back and you go, a lot of those things that I learned, discipline, respect, responsibility, being accountable, a lot of those traits that inherently get taught to you through the FFA, through doing supervised agricultural experiences and those types of things through the ag program, the FFA program, help you build the character that me as a business owner, are looking for in employees, and it really gives you a leg up as a student and as a kid and as a young person with a career in front of you to compete against your peers for those jobs.
So we've got on the phone lines Courtney Clairmont, who's the reporter for the state FFA here in Montana. She's in college in Powell, Wyoming. What do you tell future employers if they're looking to hire students in college, somebody like a Courtney, the advantages that student coming out of college with that FFA background has if your fellow business owners are looking to hire?
Sure. Those kids they're trained in leadership. They go through 4 years of leadership training. Most of them have come through the program, and they inherently are taught day in and day out those core things that we all look for: respect, responsibility, being accountable. They come in and they are hard workers in general, because that's what the program has trained them to be. So when you get these kids, they are some of the hardest workers and some of the most responsible employees that you're ever going to have. On top of that, they've got leadership skills and they've got interpersonal skills. They can talk to you. They can have a conversation with you or with your clients. They'll look you in the eye when they have a conversation. Those types of things that we lose in this generation.
Yeah, which oddly enough, I've talked with HR professionals, and they've said that one of the biggest questions they get asked by businesses across Montana is, how do you work with millennials? Because they have to retrain them on how to communicate, basic communication skills. But they're getting that in the FFA. Scott Aspenleider, the Vice President of the FFA Foundation, great to have you here with us in studio. Thanks for being with us. Courtney Clairmont, any final thoughts from you as you want to tell folks here before we wrap up? We've got about 30 seconds to go.
Just happy National FFA Week, and we hope to see everyone posting on Facebook. And it doesn't matter if you're a member or a past member, we'd love to hear your story.
All right. Well, sounds good. And are there a few city kids that are in the FFA that you've gotten to know over the years as well?
Our president for Montana FFA this year, she did not come from a production ag background, but she loves every second of being a part of FFA, and she's got to learn about production ag, and she was our agri-science type of gal, so she loves chemistry, and so doesn't matter what you love, you can be a part of FFA.
All right.
Have a great time.